We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them.
We have received reports detailing a specific active escape protocol for the leadership of the Islamic Republic. The files indicate that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is preparing to flee the country. The destination is Russia. If the leader runs, the government falls, and the vacuum left behind will create a crisis that no one is fully prepared for. Here is exactly what the intelligence says and why it means the end is near. The British newspaper, The Times, has published findings based on classified intelligence files. These files expose a secret strategy known as the Moscow Contingency. This is the exit strategy for the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The report states clearly that Khamenei has a plan to escape to Russia if the current unrest in Iran becomes impossible to stop. The plan is very specific. It is not just for him. It involves a convoy of ships and aircraft designed to transport the 86-year-old leader and 20 specific individuals. This group includes his closest aides and his immediate family. Most importantly, it includes his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. Mojtaba has long been seen as the person chosen to take over power. The fact that he is included in the escape plan tells us that the regime does not believe a transfer of power is possible anymore. They are not planning for succession. They are planning for evacuation. This operation is also about money. It is about a massive amount of wealth. The intelligence files cite a major investigation by Reuters from 2013 regarding an organization called cited. This is a conglomerate of companies and real estate under the direct control of the Supreme Leader. The value of this empire is estimated at $95 billion. The escape plan involves moving liquid assets and securing property abroad. The regime is currently busy gathering cash and positioning assets to ensure they can live comfortably in exile. The intelligence source who spoke to The Times was very clear about the motivation. They said Khamenei is physically and mentally weaker than he has ever been. The report references a psychological profile created by a Western intelligence agency. This profile describes the Supreme Leader as paranoid. It states that his condition has deteriorated significantly since a 12-day conflict with Israel that took place in June. Since that conflict, he has been almost invisible. He is rarely seen in public. The profile suggests that this paranoia is the driving force behind the escape plan. He believes his own security forces might turn on him. There is a very specific reason why they chose Russia. The report explains that Khamenei admires Vladimir Putin. He believes that the political culture of Russia is similar to the system he built in Iran. But there is also a practical reason. An Israeli intelligence veteran named Benny Sabti explained that Khamenei has nowhere else to go. He cannot go to the West. He cannot stay in the region. Moscow is the only capital that will take him. The report also highlights that this plan is based on a recent historical event. It models the escape on the actions of former Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. According to the timeline in these reports, Assad fled Damascus for Moscow in November 2024, when his own regime finally fell. The intelligence indicates that Assad is now living in luxury in Russia. He is reportedly studying Russian and has gone back to his interest in ophthalmology. Sources close to the Assad family say he is comfortable and safe. This precedent is what gave the Iranian leadership the confidence to build their own plan. They saw that a dictator could lose everything and still survive if he could get to Moscow. However, the existence of this plan creates a massive problem for the regime on the ground. The report notes that the security forces, the IRGC and the Basij, are the only things keeping the government in power. These forces have cracked down on protests in 2009, 2019, and 2022. They did this because they believed the regime was permanent. They believed the Supreme Leader would never leave. Now the intelligence community believes that if the lower-level commanders find out the captain is planning to abandon the ship, they will stop following orders. The situation on the streets is already critical. Reuters has reported that at least 25 people were killed in the first 9 days of the current protests. These protests began in the Tehran Bazaar, which is historically the heart of the regime's support. Now the merchants are chanting against the government. The protests have spread to more than 20 provinces. We are seeing videos of heavy security deployments and fires in the streets. Authorities have arrested about 1,200 people. The rhetoric from the government shows they are panicking. The Supreme Leader released a statement saying that these are not protesters, but rioters and mercenaries. He said that talking to them is pointless and they must be put in their place. But at the same time, the United States has issued a severe warning. President Donald Trump stated on his social media platform that if Iran kills peaceful protesters, the United States will intervene. He said the US is ready to act. The Iranian Foreign Ministry responded by saying the US would be responsible for the consequences. Western intelligence agencies view the Moscow contingency as a low probability but high impact event. This means that while they do not know if he will leave tomorrow, the fact that the plan exists changes everything. It is a logistical framework for asylum. It involves ships that are currently sailing toward Iran. It involves the movement of hard currency. It involves the preparation of safe houses in Russia. The intelligence assessment concludes that the regime is caught in a trap. To survive, they need the absolute loyalty of their guards. But to ensure their own safety, they have created a plan that destroys that loyalty. Every commander is now looking at his superior and wondering who is going to defect first. The report describes this as a prisoner's dilemma inside the security apparatus. If the leader leaves, the soldiers who stay behind will face the anger of the people alone. Therefore, the rational move for the soldiers is to stop fighting. This is why the leak of this plan is described as a ballistic missile hitting the ideology of the state. It transforms the supreme leader from a religious figure into a politician running for the exit. History shows us that the moment a dictator packs a bag, the regime is already dead. We saw this in 1979 with the Shah of Iran. When he left, the military crumbled because they had no one to report to. We are seeing a mirror image of that event now, but with a different ideology. The report mentions the collapse of the Assad regime in 2024 as the blueprint. This is a crucial comparison. For years, the world thought Assad would never leave. He destroyed his own country to stay in power, but eventually the cost became too high, and the support from his allies was not enough to hold the territory. When he left for Moscow, the Syrian state as we knew it ceased to exist. It broke into pieces. The difference here is the theological dimension. The supreme leader of Iran is not just a president. He claims to be the representative of divine will on earth. He is the head of a religious revolution. If a president flees, it is a political failure. If a supreme leader flees, it is a theological collapse. It proves that he does not believe in his own martyrdom. It proves that the ideology was a mask for power and wealth. This is why the report calls the leak so damaging. It breaks the spiritual bond between the leader and his followers. We also need to look at the role of Russia. Moscow has turned itself into a sanctuary for fallen authoritarians. This is a strategic move by the Kremlin. By hosting figures like Assad and potentially Khamenei, Russia maintains influence over the remnants of these countries. It also sends a signal to other dictators around the world that Russia is a loyal ally to the bitter end. However, this also shows the weakness of the Iranian system. After 47 years of chanting neither east nor west, the leadership is entirely dependent on a foreign power for its personal survival. Finally, we must understand the position of the security forces. The IRGC and the Basij are the enforcers. They have committed violence against their own neighbors to protect the system. They did this with the expectation of protection. If the leadership leaves, these enforcers are left exposed. They will face tribunals. They will face the justice of the streets. This creates a fracture in the chain of command. A colonel will not order his men to shoot if he thinks the general is on a plane to Moscow. The fear of being left behind overcomes the fear of disobeying orders. This is the mechanism that causes rapid regime collapse. It does not happen gradually. It happens all at once, when the collective belief in the future of the regime evaporates. We can now look at the likely consequences of this situation. In the short term, the paranoia inside Tehran will reach extreme levels. The leadership knows that this plan has leaked. They know that their commanders know. This will lead to purges. The supreme leader will try to replace anyone he suspects of disloyalty. But purging the military in the middle of a crisis usually accelerates the collapse. It makes the remaining officers more fearful and more likely to defect. We should expect the protests to intensify. The knowledge that the leader is preparing to run will give the streets new energy. In the long term, the flight of the supreme leader to Russia would mean the end of the Islamic Republic as a centralized state. This will lead to a period of intense instability. The IRGC controls the economy and the weapons. Without the supreme leader, the IRGC could fracture into different warlord factions. Some might try to seize power for themselves. Others might try to cut deals with the opposition or with foreign powers. The scenario resembles the fragmentation of Syria, but on a much larger and more dangerous scale. Regionally, the consequences will be immediate. Iran supports proxies across the Middle East. groups in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria depend on money and orders from Tehran. If the checkbook closes and the orders stop, these groups will be on their own. We will see a reshaping of the alliances in the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel will move quickly to fill the void. The balance of power that has existed for decades will vanish overnight. The Moscow Contingency is the signal that the end is not just possible, but that it is being planned for. The timeline is moving fast. The ships are sailing. The assets are moving. The psychological break has happened. We are watching history unfold in real time, and the next few weeks will likely determine the future of the Middle East for the next century. The inevitable outcome of a system built on fear is that eventually the fear turns inward. That is what is happening in Tehran right now.